Are you wondering what the best armor is for your Everests? Well, it's the new ones, but how much will they really help? Hey everyone, Derpy here. Welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. You are looking at the Mastery price pack of the High Ground Everest TLC. I'm guessing this will run about once a month, 4 or 5 times total, until we have enough armor to outfit every single one of our ships with 3 explosive armor and then 3 missile armor. These armors are a pretty substantial improvement over the previous versions, and I'm going to talk about how good they actually are. Now, I'm expecting they only gave us 3 per pack here, so we just can put 3 of one type on the ship and 3 of the other type on the same ship, and we'll have to do this thing 5 times total, stretching out the total armor over a long period of time. Also, note that you do have various different build tokens, so make sure you check before you do the next encounter because you might overfill. You can see right now that there is some available, but if I go down to my tokens menu and find my Everest, which is always difficult to find, but it should be towards the bottom here, you'll see I have 10. Therefore, I need to spend some before I do the next run of this TLC. That's a different story. This is my Everest build that I am, generally speaking, using on my 4 regular ships, if I can load that in here. What you'll notice is I'm not using any armor and I had everything blank. Now I'm going to do some math here. I'm going to make it pretty simple to understand, don't worry, about how helpful these armors actually are. If you look at my base survival, you'll see that I have very, very little base survival. About 300 explosive and another 300 penetrative, which are very small numbers. There is also some turret defense, which works exactly like survival, but it only helps against turrets, and splash damage reduction, which is pretty crappy and doesn't work in the vast majority of cases anyway. You might think, why is Kixeye giving us a hull with 0 survival? Well, they actually haven't. They have given you survival already in the Everest special effect. This adds 2,560 survival to every Everest in the fleet, meaning this thing gets stronger if you run 5 in a fleet, especially if it has no armor. But there's enough of that general stuff. Let's talk more specifics. If you were going to go for the armor here, a lot of people at the very beginning were running with the Z1M armor, and they were running 6 across the entire ship. As a result, Kixeye ended up adding the Thunderclap turret as the garrison version into the garrison targets, which added some explosive version too. So I guess the standard balance here is 3 explosive and 3 missile armor. There might be some targets that have more thunderclaps, you want more explosive, and some that have more halos, or brimstones rather, so you want more missile. We don't really know, and there's no way to figure out. I'm just going to recommend people go with a 3 and 3 split. If you go with a 4 and 2, sure, you might do better in some targets, but worse in others. I'm going to recommend a 3 and 3. What you'll notice is that brought up your survival from displaying as 0 to displaying as 15,000. But this didn't help out by that huge amount here. Your ship is not plus 120% better. I'm going to explain that. But first, let's look at the next build out here using the newer armor. This is the G2X and G2M armor that came in the TLC. Again, I'm going to put 3 of them on my ship. You'll already notice 3 of each on my ship. You already noticed that even with just 3 of those, my build that I'm using did go over capacity here, overweight, so you're going to have to shift something to take off weight. The answer for me is pretty easy. I'm going to drop one of these Icefall mortars down for Missile Defense System 3. I was already sort of thinking about adding that back on, and that does allow you to go underweight, so there you go. By dropping this one mortar, you did end up losing 1 out of 7 of your damage, so your damage dropped by that 14%. And you might think that's bad until you see each of these armors gives you a plus 3% damage, and that has a compounding effect. So you're about 5% better off with the new armor losing a mortar than you were in any case. So the armor actually adds about 5% damage to your effective damage that you are dealing here. Now let's talk about the survival and the auras, because at this point the survival number is up to 39,000, but this is not twice as good as it was before. It's not 227 times as it was good before. To do this, I'm going to switch to a spreadsheet. Now this might look complicated at first, or it might look simple depending on how much experience you have with your spreadsheets. And I'm going to show you how to read this. I might even make a separate video if people are interested in this thing. What you need to know is that there's an input column and an output column. In this input column, you can put your ship and then what amount of survival it has. So I have gone ahead and put in survival on the top left here. You can see this says 540, which is the highest penetrative survival on that last build I showed you. plus 1800, remember that's the turret defense, which works just like survival, plus the 25,600 or 2,560 times 5, because every Everest in the fleet does have that special ability there. So I've accounted for all survival on that, just the base ship with no armor, as this says right here. When you see this, you can transition that and use some math and some hidden things I haven't shown to turn this into survival as a percent, which you can sometimes see in game, as well as the percent of incoming damage taken. So you'll see if you have 15,000 armor, you take 45% of the incoming damage. You know, that's pretty good, right? You want to take less damage. Now, this doesn't show you anything in isolation. You actually have to compare what happens when you take the survival from that base ship and you add on 5,000 times 3. So if you have 3M and 3X armors, you add in 15,000 of each survival, it goes up from this number to this number. What this means is that your improvement from previous is 35%. So beforehand, if you were taking an hour damage, and now after putting on the old armor, you would be taking less damage than that. You would end up taking 39 minutes of damage if before you were taking 60 and you put on the old armor. This is a fairly decent improvement. The other thing that we have to compare after comparing going up from the no armor to the old armor is going from the old armor to the new armor. This brings your survival from 30,000 to 44,000. What this finds is that there's a 25% in improvement. So if you were taking 60 minutes of repair using the old armor on your ships, you are now going to be taking 45 minutes of damage, which is pretty good. Now there's one more comparison we can make here, and this is the situation that I myself am in right now. If I go from no armor, which I had on before, to having on 3 of the new one of each type, I'm going to go from having 15,000 survival to 44,000 survival. This doesn't cut my damage. This is not a 2/3 improvement. It turns out this is only a 51% improvement. So the 3 numbers you need to keep in mind are improving from the no armor to the old armor right here is 35%. Improving from the old armor to the new armor is a 25% improvement. And if you are improving from the having no armor to the brand new armor, that is a 51% improvement. Basically, 1/3, 1/4, and 1/2. So this information should be helpful when deciding what armor to put on and what things you want to do. It is definitely better to use the new armor. In fact, it is really good to use the new armor, especially when you compare it to nothing. This can effectively cut your repair time in half using armor versus not using armor with the Everest fleet. But do let me know if you want me to make a full video going through this, how to use this thing, or even leaving a link so everyone else can use this too. I hope this video was helpful. Special thanks to everyone who supports me on YouTube with the channel member program. It's just a special thing that I have, and people can give back and get some special perks. Enough about that. If you have any questions on something in Battle Pirates, leave a comment below, and I will do my best to answer you. I hope this was helpful, and as always, this is Derpy, signing out, helping you be a better pirate.